Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. My name is Hartej Sawhney. I'm the CMBDO of Qredo.com. I had a wonderful opportunity to have a conversation with Imad Warde, the CEO of HedgeGuard.com, and Brian Spector, the founder and chief product officer of Qredo.com. Both companies have partnered and are bringing institutional adoption into digital assets. Let's take a look at the conversation that we had. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. Thank you so much.
How did you know? So I've learned so much from actually working with you, and I'm so excited about what we're going to be delivering together in the future. At some point, we should talk about that during this podcast. But what's amazing about this industry is you got a geek like me who's really kind of like, down in the weeds, like on the mathematics and the crypto stuff, and like, we've got to get rid of private keys. We've got to replace it with multi-party computation. At the same time, there's Imad who's basically looking at the accounting mechanisms for how cryptocurrency transactions are reconciled, and nobody's doing it right. And it didn't even occur to me like, man, that's a problem until like I met you and you started explaining your business, and I'm like, oh my God, yeah, of course. Like, the way that you do, stock transactions is probably fundamentally different from the settlement layer and everything else that's going on in our world. And how did you recognize that there was this opportunity? And because I haven't seen anybody else that can do what you guys can do. When did you know that that was a thing?
I'm very pragmatic. We got demo requests from people who had a need. It's as simple as that. We had 100 requests. I personally did 100 demos in which people were requesting. They were saying, we have a need. Can you calculate can you build an aggregator? Do you have an aggregator for cryptocurrency trades where we can see across multiple exchanges how much we're making, how much we're losing? What's the exposure by asset, by currency pair? So I just saw a need. I did not have to believe in anything. I just saw a need, and I just followed the flow. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Real-time accounting.
It's more than accounting. It's first connection to multiple sources, and those sources are the exchanges, and each exchange is doing its own stuff. So Binance, for example, they have like 50 endpoints. Now, okay, if you just integrate those endpoints, it's not enough, because you still need to know how each endpoint translates into accounting. Does it go into the assets? Does it go into liabilities? Does it go into the income statement? And you have to have it real time, reevaluated in real time. So since we're not only a technology provider, we have a middle office team that knows what those endpoints, we just spend our time analyzing new endpoints and mapping them to the ledger and to the accounting. So yes, so we did the job because we use our own technology. We are users of our own technology. We did the job. And today we're connected to 16 exchanges, and we know what each endpoint, how it translates. So this piece is the middle office piece. And then what we're talking about, the Qredo network, is the back office piece. And then you have the front office piece, which is the trading system, being able to trade on multiple exchanges, but from one single screen. That's also another piece of the puzzle. And if you look at it, front, middle, back, this is what the traditional industry has today. And yeah, it's costing about $100 billion every year. That's the budget for operations and technology in banks and asset managers. And why we're spending $100 billion today? Because we have $100 trillion in savings, that the savings of you, Brian, you, Hartej, the savings of the planet, that are channeled to the real economy through the front, middle back systems, and those systems have reached a level of, I say, incompetence. They cannot improve anymore, and they have to be replaced. It's like we're building the iPhone for this industry so we can switch to a new technical stack. And what we're trying to do here is first do it for the crypto native industry. So you know, we're training here. It's our training field, and then slowly bring the traditional asset management industry to use this new technology to run the old business on a new technology stack. It's as simple as that. And one of the things I'm interested in, because we started with the hardware, one of the most obvious problems that we see today is that we have multiple digital ledgers. And the most obvious problem to me today is how we bring all these ledgers together, how we do a cross-chain, cross-chain swaps.
Yeah.
And that's the very interesting piece that you solved. And can you tell us a little bit about what blockchain you're using and why, and how it helps solve this problem, which is connecting multiple blockchains together?
Yeah, so we did something which in hindsight, I think was like a pretty obvious move, right? But when we were talking to people about this 2 years ago, people would look at us like we were nuts when I started explaining this. But effectively what we did is we took the Tendermint protocol, which is a Byzantine fault tolerant protocol. It's what's called a fast finality blockchain. As long as you got like, a super majority of honest nodes deciding on blocks, this thing will go super fast and print blocks. But what's really cool about Tendermint is that it enables you to bring your own application logic. And so what we did is on the Tendermint protocol, which is really well studied, very, a lot of academic rigor in this protocol. It's a conservative bet, but it's really performant. And then what we did is we built this digital asset tracking system on top of it. So it's basically like, okay, if you have a pointer down to the Bitcoin blockchain, I can say, well, in this wallet address, I've got, where there's 50 UTXO, 50 Bitcoin, I'm going to send 20 of that to Hartej and 30 of that to Imad. And in exchange for that, I'll get some Ethereum back, and then we'll rearrange a pointer from the Ethereum blockchain over to me. And when I tell people that, they'd be like, well, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard. Why'd you guys build that? For what reason? Like, what are you doing? Sawing private keys in half. But in actuality, then when you take what I call our consensus-driven MPC network and you layer that on top of it, what our MPC network is using, it's using the blockchain as the immutable ledger of record that says, hey, this guy owns this bit of Bitcoin over here, and if he comes to you to try and spend money out of that, then make sure all of the signatures are in place that enables him to do that. So we do use public-private key cryptography on our blockchain, but we don't use it to actually spend money out of the layer one underlying ledger. What we do is we actually are transferring ownership rights. It's like trading baseball cards as a kid in the US. It's like, hey, I got Hank Aaron, you got Rod Carew. I'm totally giving myself away with age because I'm like, talking about really old time baseball stars, but you get the drift, right? You're literally like trading baseball cards. Now, why we can do what Imad just said we can do is because we got rid of the private keys to the underlying layer one assets on those underlying layer one ledgers. So we can essentially do an atomic swap across chains by essentially trading the ownership rights. And that's the key to the Qredo system in a nutshell. You're trading ownership rights that essentially this consensus-driven MPC network is looking at and going, yeah, all right, if you come back to us and you want to spend, what you now have 50 Ethereum, Hartej, and your custodians have signed off on that, then we'll go ahead and enable you to do that. Now, I guess here's the other kind of hat trick that we did. Back when we started talking to big capital markets customers, they were kind of like, we really love this explosion in DeFi, we really want to get in this space, but there's no goddamn way in hell we're ever going to let a trader of ours have the keys to our stash and use MetaMask and go up and do a swap on Uniswap, right? Like, it's just never, Goldman Sachs is never going to do that, right? They have trade operations and security procedures in place that you have to be able to, you know, modify your system to work with. So what we did from the ground up was we built this platform with custodians as first-class actors. We always said, all right, when you create what's called a Qredo fund, which basically is like your grouping of multiple assets, like an Ethereum wallet address, Bitcoin, Algorand, what have you not, whatever layer one we support, it'll be in that grouping. And it enables you, when you set up that grouping, to say, right, I want to appoint Coinbase custody as my custodian, or I want to appoint HedgeGuard as my custodian. You can do that. Or if you're managing the wallet on somebody's behalf, you can appoint yourself as a custodian. But in all cases, when you're transferring an ownership right, or you're atomically swapping that ownership right, you got to have your custodian sign off. And that's, I think, also the big thing that we grokked a year and a half ago when we were building this thing was custodians aren't going to go away. The old financial models, you know, of finance, whether you like them or not, you have to enable your solutions to work within that paradigm. And, you know, frankly, to all the sort of the decentralized, enthusiasts out there who want to have who want to bring that level of capital into, you know, our universe, these are the things that we've got to do to remake the financial system so that it's, you know, more fair, more inclusive, works for everybody. And, I'm a passionate believer in kind of the promise of, when I first read that Satoshi white paper, that's the other reason we got into this, because, we can see how dramatically it can change the world. But in order to do that, you still have to work within the parameters of what's going on now. So, you know, we designed this with capital markets in mind.
I have two more questions for you, Brian. The first one is about MPC. So I would like to ask this question on the behalf of the really beginner or the neophyte. Can we say, to simplify things, can we say that there are different ways of doing MPC, and the way you're doing it is innovative in the sense that there's nothing stored, there's nothing exists, and it's computation, it's through computation that we are signing as if we have a private key, and while the private key doesn't exist at all, while other MPC technology are the pieces of the key exist and then we bring it together. Can you shed more light on
elaborate on that?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm hogging the conversation, but you're asking such good questions. Thanks, Imad. So you kind of got it half right. MPC is like any other tech, right? Like it starts off and it's kind of like, it's not really going to work. And, it's a good idea academically, but it's really not going to work in the real world. And then it's like, oh man, we got this implementation that's actually kind of working, and it's almost real world capable. It takes us a minute to generate a signature. And so the academia, this is how kind of crypto algorithms get put into use in general, right? As they go from the academic world into real world production, you get coders trying to let's take what's on paper and put it into practice. So there was this first generation of MPC protocols, but they all had one big flaw. They had a master key. Sometimes you'll hear it called like a common reference string, or there are other terms for it. But the net is you have to initialize this system with a key that's a master key. And if somebody steals the master key, then the whole system breaks down. So what you want when you're implementing these kinds of systems, these cryptographic systems, look for the word trustless. You need a trustless, either, threshold signature system or a trustless threshold decryption system, but the key word is trustless. And what that means is is those endpoints basically from a starting just right at a standing start can forklift themselves up and bootstrap a protocol into existence just by throwing around big prime numbers over the network. And if somebody's in the middle, it doesn't matter. And nobody has that master key that can compromise the integrity of the system. And so it was really only recently that we got to an MPC protocol that had that key feature that in my mind made it production worthy. And that's when me and my team jumped on it and we're like, okay, that's the one. We're going to go and implement that one. And yeah, that kind of forms the basis of how our protocol operates. So I think we're fairly differentiated in that feature, and kudos to you, Imad, for picking that up. When I try and tell people like it's trustless, and they're kind of like eyes glaze over, I'm like, no, it's a really big deal. You got to, but it is a really, really big deal. It's a key critical thing.
Because many people are saying, what's so great in this MPC? Everybody's doing MPC. No, everybody is not doing MPC in the same way.
Yeah, that's right.
And this is why I would like to insist on this point. No, not everybody is doing MPC the way Qredo is doing MPC. And this is why we're working together. Because I've been in this space talking to people about all of, different technologies. Many technologies are coming out, doing great stuff.
It's easy to use the buzzword.
Yeah, but this is those three differentiator up till now: hardware, homemade hardware, multiple data centers, T4, Tendermint as a blockchain, and a very smart MPC implementation. So that's Qredo.
So that is true, Imad. They are in places like Singapore, London, New York, Chicago, Tokyo, etc., where you have large financial centers or clusters of activity going on. So we want to be close to the transactions, and they also have the best data center facilities in those places.
And is there failover features between all these data centers?
There's what are called cross connects. So they're like private lease lines that enable the communication, but each one of the data centers also has fully redundant called high availability failover modes. So you have high availability for power, internet, water, cooling, you name it. There's like, it's kind of like the military. If you've ever been in kind of a military bunker in that way, you have a redundant system for every little piece of supply that you're required to operate your hardware for. So
I'm asking you these questions just because it occurred to me, everybody is asking new technology companies to be like cloud-based. Everybody is on the AWS. In a certain way, it's this decentralized world is becoming centralized if everybody is on the same data center. So what I like about Qredo Network is that you are in different data centers that are all connected, and it's not only decentralized software, but it's also decentralized hardware in a certain way.
Well, yeah. So you kind of hit upon a good point, Imad. If everybody's dependent on Jeff's servers, then we're really not decentralized. But there's another dimension to that that's a little geekier. If you kind of double click down, you need to be in control of your own hardware. I mean, you can rent a HSM from Amazon, but there's really no guarantee that there's not some sort of backdoor administrator or something there that in the cryptocurrency world, it's a dimension called censorship resistance. So there's no guarantee that you can be censorship resistant when all of your apps are up in Jeff Bezos's cloud or, in Microsoft Azure or what have you not. And the other thing is, what's really funny, it's not that expensive and it's not that much of a bugbear to actually deploy your own, rack mount servers, or in our case, obviously we went to the nth degree and did our own hardware design. But getting that deployed in these data centers and getting set up with your own internet and everything, it's pretty cost efficient and it's not that terribly hard to do. So
can I not let you jump over that, and can you dig in a little bit about why Qredo has built custom hardware?
We built custom hardware. Yeah, you know, there's been a big move to try and isolate certain cryptographic implementations inside of hardware. Like Intel has taken kind of the lead on this with something called Intel SGX. We're a little bit paranoid, and you know, give an A for effort to the Intel guys, but the implementation and the level of I don't want to say vulnerabilities, but that's what they are in Intel SGX, where you can actually run your cryptographic programs inside of a trusted, what's called a root of trust or a trusted enclave or a secure enclave. Has been, it's basically what you want to be able to do, because if you can run it in there, you can also attest that nothing else, if the hardware is secure, has gotten inside of there to muck with your program. And so, you know, the harder you can make it for a hacker to try and penetrate your systems, you know, they're going to go to the next guy that hasn't made it as hard. It's kind of like that, you know, joke about the two runners in the forest and the bear's chasing them, and one guy starts putting on his running shoes and he's like, "Man, what are you doing?" He's like, "Hey, man, I don't have."
Getting hacked today to begin with. I mean, that's why cryptocurrencies get hacked, because it's been really easy.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's sort of it's why we started this journey where we just took a look at the way security, particularly kind of on a first principles basis, cybersecurity architectures were being set up by, at the time, cold storage custodians or exchanges. And we just knew it was like a, you know, a time bomb. And sure enough, like 2017, you know, all through the present year, it's just one devastating hack after another. So if you're dealing with cryptographic material, it's really easy to steal. It's 256 bits. It's, you know, 30 some odd alphanumeric characters long. And if I've got that, I've got your key. And that's why I want to start asking Imad some questions about HedgeGuard in a second, but I do want to make this point. So there's secure hardware where you basically make it really, really tough for a hacker to get into. Like the keys aren't exposed except, you know, anywhere except inside of silicon. So it's not like it can steal your disk and then I've got all the money. I got to go and reverse engineer stuff out of a chip. And first of all, I got to steal it out of a tier 4 data center. That's nation state kind of hack, right? But then the second thing is where we got really excited starting about 2017, 2018, was this sort of Cambrian explosion in something called multi-party computation academic research around that subject. And multi-party computation is the biggest breakthrough in crypto since public-private key cryptography. So if you all are listening to this and you know a little bit about how cryptocurrency works, you know, I need a private key, and that from that private key, I can generate a wallet address by going through a couple steps. And also with that private key, I can spend money out of that wallet. But a private key is one piece of data, right? And if I get a hold of that data, yeah, I got your money. What multi-party computation does is it allows you to replace the need to have a private key instead with a network of decentralized computers who are all talking to each other over the internet. And if they run a protocol, they can generate a Bitcoin signature that to the Bitcoin network looks, touches, smells, tastes exactly like it was made with a private key. But here's the clincher: no private key ever existed. Now, these computers that are running this multi-party computation protocol have their own secrets, and we protect those secrets in hardware. But on the Qredo network, what makes this whole thing really unique is that no private keys to the underlying layer 1 assets exist. So you've got this multi-party computation network protected with secured hardware and distributed across the globe that's, you know, incredibly tough to get into. What's great though is when you actually layer HedgeGuard portfolio management system on top of us, because then the whole system becomes alive. Like, you know, at the end of the day, we're, for all the like, kind of the fancy crypto stuff and hardware and everything else we're doing, you need a system that drives it, for lack of a better word, right? And I know the first time I saw HedgeGuard, when you demoed it to me, I'm like, man, this is like, you know, and this is a crass comparison, but I'm like, God, this is like Bloomberg, but for crypto, right? And with the connections to all these different sources of liquidity, be they exchanges or, you know, dark pools or that kind of breadth of connection points that you have, that really then makes Qredo come alive, because what you can now do is atomically swap from one console digital assets on one venue if you are entitled to do so, with your digital assets on another venue, and eventually you'll be able to do real-time arbitrage trading across multiple venues, which, you know, that is going to be a massive breakthrough in cryptocurrency trading and speculation.
Yeah, Brian, if you were to summarize to an institutional trader of digital assets, to summarize the true value that this entity would get from the synergy of HedgeGuard and Qredo, what would you say that is?
I'd say you get a one pane of glass view that gives you front office, middle office, and back office with world-class decentralized custody that is highly secure, that enables you to apply your own governance and custodial mechanisms on top of that are applicable for capital markets customers, and have one single source of truth, and do the types of trading that have long been, you know, dismissed as not really possible, but you can do that now, which is atomically swap layer one assets across different chains. And this is the key thing: without counterparty, settlement, payment, or delivery risk. It all happens, or it doesn't happen at all. And that is exactly what the industry needs to get these large capital markets, institutional players, not just dipping their toe in the water, but coming in with hundreds of billions, if not trillions. This is where the market, this is what we have to deliver to grow this market.
If I were to dumb it down a bit into bullet points, though, you know, there's been.
Dude, I don't do dumbing down.
I know, I can tell. But you know,
don't do that.
We've talked a lot about just the sheer process of pre-funding hot wallets as being just this colossal nuisance and this colossal security risk, and this, well, it's a risk that no institutional grade party is ever going to take, and how that's something that, you know, Qredo hits the nail on the head. And it's something that I remember on several early calls with Imad was just pushing us to say, like, this is a solution that we need. You know, pre-funding hot wallets it's unacceptable.
And, you know, the first time I heard that from you, Imad, I was like, oh yeah, of course. Like, why is it that our industry, it's like our industry basically makes you, it would be the equivalent of the New York Stock Exchange going, hey man, send me your stock certificate before you can trade stocks on the New York Stock Exchange, right? It's just, it's, when you step back and think about it, you're like, this is like bat, you know, caca crazy, right? It's like, it's no other industry does this. So, and then you actually, you know, once I picked that up from Imad, I was like, oh, you know, I need to double click on this. So I was talking to our capital markets prospects, and they're like, yeah, we will never, ever pre-fund an unregulated exchange's hot wallet. Like there's no way it's ever going to happen. So you've got like this huge class of customer out there that wants to, you know, dive in more into crypto, but can't. And they've got huge pools of liquidity. So it's a big untapped market. But then when I got turned on to that, I'm like, okay, you know what actually we need to do is we need to enable a system where exchanges themselves can, in a trustless but without counterparty risk kind of way, extend prime brokerage like trade credit to their traders, and the traders can extend prime brokerage like trade credit, or the custodians can extend that kind of trade credit back out to other counterparties. And that's something that we're hopefully be delivering here in very short order as well.
Maybe why don't I ask you one question on my mind, is where's the industry going? You know, especially in terms of the speed of maturation. You know, we're seeing lots of news about very large institutional players, some rumors and some legitimate, saying that they're buying large sums of Bitcoin. Obviously, you know, when I think about trading desks, not, you know, Goldman Sachs turning on a 24/7 crypto trading desk will be a historic thing if and when that happens. And, you know, there's interest from the family office side. I'm interested to hear both of your perspectives on where are we today in the industry.
Well, I can give you a couple of, I can share with you a couple of information. I know what I know. What's going to happen tomorrow, I have absolutely no idea, but I can tell you that some of our traditional asset managers are trying to launch right now. They're managing hundreds of millions, billions of dollars. So many of them are started asking questions. Okay, if you want to step into this industry, what does it take? So we are seeing traditional asset managers looking into this industry. The asset management industry, as I told you, is managing $100 trillion as opposed to $360 billion in the crypto space. So we are going to see, hopefully, if we provide the right ecosystem, we are going to see the flow coming from the traditional industry into the crypto space. That's what we are seeing now. The second thing that we are seeing right now, it's happening in front of us, is that central bank digital currencies are taking, you know, it's happening now. The Chinese already did it. It's closed for the moment, but Europe also wants to step in. I don't know about the Americans, but at a certain point, they have to make a decision. So central bank digital currencies are going to enable also the asset tokenization, and this is how this $100 trillion industry is going to switch from old technology to a new one. Now, this is what we're seeing today. I mean, we're not inventing, we're not trying to see where it's going.
Yeah.
This is what is happening today.
Did you see the news that, well, I think everybody saw MicroStrategy, basically, which was, I think they're an S&P 500 company, was the first publicly traded company where the CFO came out and said, you know, cash is trash. I've moved 5% of our cash holdings into Bitcoin, and I did it, while you guys weren't looking.
Square did 1% of it today.
Square has now also come out and said, yeah, we're doing it too. So I think what's going to happen in short order, I think the combination of what Imad said with central bank digital currencies, with asset managers whose job it is to speculate, now wanting to move in, and the fact that you've got large public companies who are basically saying, as a hedge against these sort of out of control inflationary policies by central bankers of the world, I'm buying Bitcoin. I think we're, thank God we're in this industry. It's what I think my lucky stars every day.
Well, this one is the toughest one.
Nice.
Doesn't have anything to do with technology. It has to do with the ones who run technology.
Oh gosh.
I'm going to tell you why I'm asking you this question, because I've struggled many years to deliver projects. I worked with brilliant people who could not deliver projects on time. And there's something very interesting with the Qredo team is that you said, we started talking, I think, in Jan, and you said, I will deliver in June or something like that. And then you started showing us every month new stuff, great presentations. Then the product started coming out, great UI, great UX, but actually great people behind all of this.
Oh, thank you, Imad.
And delivering on time. So I wanted to know, yes, you are one of the very few teams we worked with that is delivering on time while having fun. So I wanted to know
how we do it.
More than this, were you able all the time to deliver like this? Or
No,
that you acquired
no.
and now you got the secret and you are able to do it?
Well, yeah, you know, I mean, I will admit, I was not a good project manager or good product manager, or even a, you know, when I was my first year or two being CEO of Miracle, looking back on all that, we were not that, I was not that good. I think, you know, it only comes from like having a lot of scar tissue on your back and being able to prioritize what's important. And even now I feel like, oh God, we're, you know, like, you know, maybe we're a week late or something like that. You really kind of internalize those burdens. But, you know, it's not like it's all down to me. I actually, most of it, all of it really is just based on having the right people and the right team. You know, I'm not coding this myself. It's Stan, Keelan, it's Chris, Sam, it's Alex, you know, it's all, you know, it's Tony, who's a gal, you know, it's Will, it's Clarence, it's, you know, people are, the best thing you can do as a leader is just to get the right people who can deliver and, you know, make it look like you guys are just, you know, super rock stars because everybody's just firing on all cylinders. It's nothing to do with me, except that I just got the right great group of guys and gals that are, you know, are tapped into the vision. We're all feeding off the same source, and it's just going. But that's the only thing I've really learned, you know, is over the years of failing, is that there are like two key things. If you're the product leader, you have to be able to articulate your vision really cleanly, really clearly, and in great detail. And you have to have the ability to navigate context switching. And I see you do this amazingly well. You're like, you can get somebody on the phone, start demoing, you know, dive into what their issue is, and being able to be mentally fluid like that. But then, you know, the other flip side of that is you just have to hire great people. And if you've got your act together where, you know, you're conveying the product direction and the capabilities, and you've got a great engineering team and, you know, a great design team, it'll all fall into place. Which I'm sure, you know as well too. Yeah, but I've seen you in that same way. I mean, what I love about your product, Imad, is that you've got this depth of vision. You guys know what you're about. You know exactly where it's going. And I have not seen somebody really kind of dive into the needs of the customer the way you have. And when we've been on joint sales calls together, you know, it's a skill. I don't know if you can be taught that, or, you know, you learn that, or what have you not, but you know, that's what I think it takes. I don't know. What do you think? How do you do what you do? Let me turn the question back on you. I'm gonna be Irish with you, buddy. Come on. We got 7 minutes left. What do you think it takes to be an effective leader and grow the business the way you have?
Um, yeah, of course, yeah. I think you described it well. I don't know if I can add to it. Maybe I'll state it in a different manner. What I did two things in my life. First, I was extremely directive, you know, giving guidelines and being a bossy, very bossy. I think I did a lot of harm to many people in my life while I was doing this. I made them achieve, but
Yeah.
I think I made collateral damages. So I said to myself, no, that's very bad. Now I'm going to be the good guy. So being the good guy, that was the second part of my life. I let people do, you know, I was not doing any follow-up. I was like total freedom. It didn't work either. It was actually worse than the first one. Then I came in the center. What you do is actually you give your point of view, you give guidelines, you give freedom within a framework. You know, it's within like limited boundaries, and the limited boundaries are the needs of the customer. So this is what we need. You have the freedom to execute, but within those boundaries. So those boundaries, actually, there is space and time. So when you say this is what we want to achieve, you're limiting the space, but then you have also to limit the time. You say, okay, I'm going to give you that much time to deliver within this framework of space and time. And if it doesn't work, it's not a problem. But then we have to change something to it. I'm not going to give you more time to keep doing this, you know, indefinitely.
Yeah.
These are so I give freedom within limited boundaries, and I'll let people, you know, achieve. And when they achieve, I'm here to say thank you. I know how to say
Job well
thank you
done.
now.
Well done, sir. Well done. I've seen, you know, the people are fired up in your organization. They're engaged. They're customer centric. You know, and there's whenever I come into your office, you know, and hopefully when this, a little period of weirdness that the world is going through ends, one of these days I'm going to get back down to Paris and give you a big hug. But when that day comes and before those days, every time I've been down there, you know, there's a buzz about you, the energy in your office that I love. I love going into places like that where everybody's, you know, it just seems like everybody's really firing on all cylinders. The ideas are flowing. Everybody's creative. You know, there's people are talking. It's you know, it's a wonderful thing to see, and it's great to partner with you and great to go to market with you.
Let me ask the question. I got the question from Paul.
Okay.
Have you guys thought about a read-only flag? I'm going to put it on. Have you guys thought about a read-only flag onto every transaction a fund makes that can be independently audited by administrators and auditors? This would pass a pension fund's due diligence requirements.
Yeah, that's exactly how. Thank you for the question. This is exactly how on the Qredo blockchain how it works. You're able to go in and independently verify. It's a pseudonymous system. So if you know who the identity behind that signature is on the Qredo blockchain, you're able to independently verify that the transaction was valid, it was signed off by the corporate governance structure, and who in that corporate governance structure actually signed off on that transaction. So it's tailor-made specifically to satisfy that requirement for pension funds in their due diligence process. And thank you for a great question.
And one more thing is that within the Qredo network, actually, we can add flags on. For the moment, we can have flags on or tags. We're saying tags.
Tags.
On the funds, but we can also extend it to transactions if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct. That's correct. So yeah, come see us. We're happy to give you a demo. Love to talk about what if any projects you have going on or anything that we can handle for you jointly between HedgeGuard and Qredo. Keep in mind, everybody, the one thing I also want to make sure everybody knows is Qredo's strategy is to enable partners like HedgeGuard to be fully first-class actors within the Qredo network. So if you're a HedgeGuard customer, you're going to get Qredo underneath the hood just by being a HedgeGuard customer. So you don't have to worry about the nuts and bolts of running a node or any of that, those kinds of things. HedgeGuard has it all taken care of for you. And again, with their system, it's front office, middle office, back office, soup to nuts. And yeah, if you know, I would say the best way to get the best bits of functionality out of us is to go through partners like HedgeGuard, and you know, we're happy to do a joint sales call, but at the end of the day, it's partners like HedgeGuard that really make Qredo shine.
Thank you very much, Brian. Thank you very much, Hartej. So, and just to, in a nutshell, HedgeGuard and Qredo are connecting the ecosystem, offering a single screen experience from front to back, and unlocking liquidity on exchanges.
Numerous layer one blockchains, exchanges, asset managers, and custodians. Come all. So there you go. Thank you very much for your time, Imad. Thanks, Hartej.
Skeletons you keep in your closet. It don't matter because you're working for what you always wanted.